gonna look like Benavidez. You. Yeah, one leg. You gonna fight? Yeah, one leg. Yeah, one leg. I'm gonna make one leg. Thank you, leg. What's my bet on?
No. But yeah, it's definitely my call. The ball's in my court. You know, they say I'm patient. Errol gave me an opportunity and a shot at becoming the first male boxer, undisputed, in any division in the 4-belt era. And I honor, that.
Belts. When it comes to real boxing heat, the kind that draws hardcore fans and casuals alike, the Crawford versus Spence rematch is still the fight that needs to happen. Yes, even more than Crawford versus
immediate rematch clause? Rematch clause?
I don't know if it's gonna be at 54 or 47, but I'm sure I'm sure he's probably gonna push the weight up. But there's no gonna be no change in the decision. The performance still is gonna be the same. Might be even a little bit better. So he might want to watch out before he activate the rematch clause.
The first Crawford-Spence fight was a beatdown. No spin, no excuses. Crawford handed Errol Spence Jr. the worst night of his career, dropping him 3 times before stopping him in the 9th. It was clean, it was brutal, it was historic. But, in boxing, a beating doesn't always mean the story is over. Sometimes it just sets the stage for a bigger sequel. That's exactly what we got from their recent face-to-face. Now, with both men potentially fighting at 154 and Spence looking to redeem what he calls an off night, the narrative writes itself.
I can't tell you, I wasn't camp.
At the division, he dominated for his entire career. All of a sudden, when it came time for this fight, he looked different. Why?
I wasn't in camp with him. I can't tell you. I don't know if his body finally broke down for being at 147 for too long. I don't know if it was him flying from Dallas to Las Vegas, which has different heat and temperatures, and losing weight affects your body.
I just want y'all to realize that Errol Spence is the younger fighter between him and Terence Crawford. He's the bigger fighter between him and Terence Crawford.
And here's the best part. This rematch could outdraw Crawford versus Canelo in every way that matters. Post-fight excuses are nothing new in boxing, but Spence has been calculated and honest in admitting something was off leading up to the Crawford fight. He hadn't been in the ring for over a year, and he was boiling his body down to 147 for what may have been the final time. In fact, he was vocal about the cut even before the fight, saying he was draining too much and needed to move up. Even veteran fighters like Sean Porter and analysts like Tim Bradley noted that Spence's body looked off, stiff, sluggish, flat-footed, not the relentless volume puncher we've seen walk guys down for years.
He gave me that opportunity to fight him. It's only right that that's what he want to do. I give it back to him. Outside of him,
now things will be different. Spence versus Crawford at 154, both fully rehydrated, no excuses, no advantages. We might finally get the fight we thought we were getting the first time. Let's call it what it is. Crawford versus Canelo looks interesting. On paper, pound-for-pound star versus pound-for-pound king. But dig beneath the surface, and it starts to feel more like a sideshow than a true war. Canelo fights at 168, and Crawford has never fought above 147, aside from a recent move to 154. That's a 21-pound jump across weight classes. And while Terence is a phenom, Canelo is a tank with fight-ending power at that weight. Crawford's technical brilliance might turn it into a chess match, but the power gap is so wide that one misstep could end the night.
Make the fight look different in the second time than in the first time. I do believe that, but that's the only thing that I can personally believe since, because,
Bob Arum said it best. Canelo's just too big and too strong, and he promoted Crawford for over a decade. Plus, the stakes in that matchup aren't organic. There's no grudge, no bad blood. The hype would rely on manufactured tension and media spin. With Spence, the tension is real, the stakes are personal, and fan investment is already baked in. Let's talk business. The first Crawford-Spence pay-per-view did around 700K buys. An impressive number considering the event had no crossover star like Floyd or Canelo. That was pure boxing interest. Now, Spence has a redemption arc. Crawford has a new belt at 154, and both fighters are healthier, bigger, and better promoted. The first fight left unfinished emotional business, and that's what makes the rematch.
Undisputed. Undisputed. Look where he beat. Look where he beat. What he did to Spence. How he did it. That's 3 fights to me. And it took 4 fights out of Spence, right? I'm a fighter, so I can tell you get punished like that.
Yeah, I was there ringside watching the fight. Yeah.
It was years out of you don't see the years right now, but it sort of takes something out of that person.
This fight has all the makings of a $1 million+ PPV event, especially if it's held in Vegas again, or brought to a tentpole stadium in Texas, where Spence's fan base runs deep. That's more than what most recent Canelo fights have done, especially outside of his trilogy with Gennady Golovkin. Let's not forget, Canelo versus Jermell Charlo underperformed, barely cracking 600K buys despite massive Showtime promotion. Crawford-Spence has far more emotional weight behind it. And here's another wrinkle. Terence Crawford is no longer the quiet, stay-in-his-lane technician. Since the Spence fight, we've seen a different Bud. He's talking more, cracking, jokes, calling out names. He knows his worth now, and the fans are finally listening.
Which rematch?
Crawford and Spence.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know the Spence fans. Spence fans, they hold it out. They believe, their man could get it back.
Yeah, well, that's what makes a fan. So they can hope all they can. I don't want to see it.
Early 2024, Crawford told the media that Canelo wasn't the priority. He even hinted that a rematch with Spence at 154 meant more to him. If we do it again, I want to make sure we're both healthy, both at our best. That way, no one can say anything after. That's not a guy chasing a payday. That's a guy chasing legacy. And don't sleep on the controversy either. Since the loss, Spence has had to deal with fans claiming he's washed, that the car crash changed him, that the eye surgeries ruined his
Crawford want to challenge himself to be great. Let him try to be great, so, I'm with it. So, I'll be going for Bud, if he fight Canelo, I'll be going for him. I mean, I don't know if he's gonna win or lose, but I definitely be going for Crawford, I think.
And now he wants to shut everyone up. As for Crawford, he's been accused of beating a diminished version of Spence. Some even say the fight shouldn't count as a true showdown because Errol wasn't at full strength. So what's the solution? Run it back at 154 with no excuses. That controversy sells. The internet debates, the breakdowns, the hate, it's all fuel. That's what draws people in, and that's exactly what Crawford versus Spence 2 delivers, in spades.
Errol Spence Jr. in AT&T Stadium. And I want to chime in and talk about it. I think it's kind of irrelevant for Oscar to be calling out.
Errol Spence Jr. remains one of the most talked about names in boxing. Not because of what he's done lately, but because of what might still be left in him. Or what might not. While Terence Crawford continues to chase greatness with a possible jump to 168 to face Canelo Alvarez, Spence's path looks murkier. Caught somewhere between redemption and uncertainty. The Crawford rematch may be the purest choice, but as always, boxing isn't just about legacy. It's about business. And right now, Oscar De La Hoya wants in on that business, proposing a mega fight between Spence and Virgil Ortiz Jr. in Dallas. Something that could flip Spence's narrative entirely, or bury it.
What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, a.k.a. Unique Mazik, and it is my pleasure to talk to boxing icon, the face of Golden Boy Promotions, multiple-time world champion, Oscar De La Hoya. How you doing today, Oscar?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir, man. It is a pleasure to talk to you. One of the first things that I want to ask you is talk about Virgil Ortiz Jr.'s performance. I'm going to be honest with you out there. I expected him to have...
Oscar De La Hoya says he wants to make Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Errol Spence Jr. happen at AT&T Stadium, and I want to chime in on that. Honestly, I think it's kind of irrelevant for Oscar to be calling it out, but the idea isn't just promotional fluff. De La Hoya told Fight Hype. He's already eyeing AT&T Stadium, a Texas-sized venue for a Texas-sized fight between two Texas-born warriors. And sure, if you're talking gate and buzz, that fight could easily draw 60,000 fans. Spence is still beloved in Dallas, And Ortiz is the young, undefeated knockout artist just hitting his
Anybody. I don't care if it's Boots. I don't care if it's Boots. I don't care if it's Thurman. I don't care if it's Spence or anybody. Crawford, I really don't care. I would love to fight someone. He's a fighter. I don't think of him, you know. He's just, if he fights and he fights us, whatever.
It sells itself. But let's be real. It's also a dangerous, high-risk fight for Spence to return to after a 2-year layoff and a humbling loss that shook his entire aura. Crawford didn't just beat him. He erased him. And that's not hyperbole. He made Spence look like he didn't belong in the same ring. That kind of beating leaves scars, mental, physical, and reputational.